It's Mailbag Day, and we're going to answer some questions about Mitch Marner, how the Ducks are going to do next season, and much more on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everydayers. Thanks for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Kyle Kjer, and I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan, and I've spent multiple years covering collegiate sports, including college hockey, and now we're talking about the Anaheim Ducks. And just how well they're going to do next season is one of the questions on board. We also got a question about Cutter Gauthier and what steps he's going to take next year. But first, we got to crack down on the topic of everyone's mind that has been just all over social media and the posts and other outlets out there. Where is Mitch Marner going, and is it Anaheim? So again, it's Mailbag Day. These are all questions that were submitted at my website of KJERTalksports.com. That's cartalksports.com/connect. And there is a place where you can send in these questions. And that's where most of these came from. So Luis, he asks, do you see the Ducks signing Mitch Marner in free agency since the recently hiring of Coach Q? If so, for how many years? And I could see the Ducks absolutely taking a shot at Mitch Marner. However, with how many teams are interested in him, I don't think he's going to land in Anaheim. It just doesn't seem likely that what kind of price tag that he's going to be trying to get will be something that the Ducks are looking to put up with or sacrifice. I'm not saying you're sacrificing, because you are getting Mitch Marner, who's 100 point. He's got 100 points multiple times. He's a great player. He knows how to get pucks in the net. He's a goal scorer, and he can make plays happen. So it's definitely someone that the Ducks would like, but the amount of money and term, I don't think will be something Pat Verbeek will go for. With the class of other free agents that are in that time this summer, he could kind of get two decent scorers themselves, actually build some depth as well, and get more of that money that they would have spent on Mitch Marner into multiple players, and then also try to target next year's free agency. We'll get into that in a little bit, but there's a lot of potential for Beek to kind of take the money. He did say that Samuel said the pocketbook's open, go for it, go shopping. I just don't know if Pat Verbeek is going to want to pay what is looking like probably about 12 to 13 million AAV, just based off of how much he was paid this year in Toronto and how much his agency are probably going to be trying to be fighting for. 12 to 13. He was at just over 10 this last season. So that's what that's what the talk is about where he'll land financially. And then term wise, it's looking like probably something like a 7-year term, because that takes him into him being 35 years old. So he's basically covered into the prime years of his career, and then can either keep going or sail into the sunset wherever he wants to go after that time. So 12, 13 million a year for 7 years. That's a hefty price tag. And the reason I say that it's probably going to be around that space is because he's got a lot of teams. He, being Mitch Marner, has a lot of teams that are hungry for a player like him. I've heard a lot of cities like LA, Vegas, Pittsburgh. There's a lot of other teams out there shopping and hunting for Mitch Marner. So whatever team lands him is gonna have to pay top dollar. And if he wants to, maybe he has a specific place already in mind, but from what I'm hearing, Anaheim is not one of them. It doesn't sound like he's interested in coming to the team. but there has been interest shown in him from the Anaheim front office. So kind of a tricky situation there. If you don't want to go to a team as much as another team, are you likely trying to ask for more money to go there? Or would you take less money at a team that you want to go to? That's all things that come down to him as a person, as a player, and those kinds of negotiations that are going on. And some heavy hitters like LA and Vegas makes things very difficult for Anaheim to be the big selling point. Yeah, you did get Coach Q, but I think he's kind of Marner's in a place where he could say, well, let's see how they do. And, I already know their success in these other places. So I'll go over there rather than sit here and hope that Anaheim has success. I think they will, but to kind of go to a unknown, a hope situation versus a guaranteed decent situation like Vegas, or we've seen LA go to the playoffs the last couple of years. They keep getting beat by Edmonton, but someone like Mitch Marner might help them. But we've also seen his playoff success not be that great. And that's something that I think goes into Verbeek's conversations as well as the GM is with that money that he has or will be spending on Mitch Marner. Do you want to risk having someone that, yeah, they might get you into the playoffs the next year or two, but after that long-term time, is he going to have playoff success if they do get to the playoffs? Is he wasting a roster spot for someone that could help them get into the playoffs during the regular season and also have a more successful playoff season? And there's talks out there that the media was a big reason why he didn't have success and that they made things extremely hard for him. And now if he gets to go to a market that's a little more quiet, that it might help him boost up. Anaheim's definitely a much quieter media market than Toronto. So that's basically all they talk about are the Leafs. Like the Leafs are the livelihood of everyone out there in Toronto. So very, very much different situation there. So that could be appealing, but does Verbeek want to take that risk as well? There's a lot of risk, and that's just the way it is with any kind of player, business, anything like that. However, these are just the things I see being weighed and not really going in the favor of Anaheim and Marner meeting up. There's definitely some players like Ehlers or Marchessault is not a free agent, but that's like a trade option. Brock Besser, we talked about that as well. There's a lot of other players in this class, but the next year is where I'm thinking Pat Verbeek might put the brakes or hesitate signing Marner this time around when next year's free agency, the players that are going to be free agents next summer include people like Artemi Panarin, Alex Ovechkin, Jack Eichel, Kapril Kaprizov, Sergei Bobrovsky, Jacob Markstrom. Those two are goaltenders. Don't really see them targeting goaltenders, but Kyle Connor, and we got Anze Kopitar, Martin Necas, and Connor McDavid. I highly doubt that McDavid would sign anywhere other than Edmonton with how things are going, and especially if they have a good run this year and end up winning the cup. I see him sticking around and not bouncing anywhere else. But there's that, you got Connor McDavid. What kind of lucrative deal can Pat Verbeek work up? Try to get Connor McDavid or even Jack Eichel. He seems pretty set in Vegas as well. But new experience. He get away from that type of team. I don't know how things are going with the coach. You hear a lot of stuff about the coach out there. So come over here, get some coaching by Coach Quenneville. There's some options there. You got Kapril Kaprizov. Can't even say his name right, but he's a beautiful player out there and someone that easily would make a difference for Anaheim. So Anze Kopitar, I really don't see them going for him, being that he is a king, but Martin Necas is definitely lucrative. There's just a lot of guys that Anaheim could target next year over going and spending the big bucks on Mitch Marner this year. And it does seem like Pat Verbeek is one of those guys that likes to have more of a long-term plan. He talks about, drafting guys that aren't going to be good just at 18, but in the long run, for the long time that they play for that team, they will develop and become a player that they are. So it seems like he's really going to target more of the longevity and the actual building up of Anaheim over a long time, and not needing the flashy success that he'll get right away from Marner versus the long term trying to get a solid group of guys rather than just one player. So, but also then it goes to bug or to whatever the word. I'm having a hard time thinking these words today. I'm just with Marner, I get a little flustered, and I see all the reasons to target him, but I just don't think he's the kind of character player that Anaheim wants. And I see a lot of people asking for him to come over here. They want him. It's like I don't know. There's a lot of people that don't want him either. So I see too much financial risk in that signing, and I don't see Verbeek going that route with the type of capital that will be spent on Mitch Marner. I don't want to say wasted, because you will get some success out of him. So I think there will be some tries. I just don't see Verbeek getting into a bidding war, and that's really the biggest thing I have in there. Is he'll go for it if it's any type of friction or trouble. I don't see him really trying to stay in the long run and battling for him. So no Mitch Marner to Anaheim, just too many factors that don't line up for both the player and for the team. And yeah, it's definitely a juicy piece, but we'll see how things go. I don't see it happening. And our next question that we got to get to is whether or not Cutter Gauthier will have a decent year, or what will happen with him. So we'll get to that question coming up next. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I always go for the no shell variety for a quick snack in between work and games and practices and just life happening, getting in the way. Sometimes you need a good snack to get a handful of protein in your daily diet. So make sure you get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right. We have a question from YouTube. This is at ECWNWWF. They asked, what is the expectation for Cutter Gauthier under Coach Q? Will he take the next step or just be sent to the AHL? Now, I think that Cutter Gauthier is absolutely going to take the next step and will have a fantastic season next year. And nowhere at all will he sniff the AHL. I don't see that happening to him whatsoever. Looking back at this year, he played all 82 games. That is extremely rare for a player to come in and play all 82 games as a young kid like Cutter is, and to have the success that he did have in that first year. So there just doesn't if he would have got sent down to the AHL anytime, it would have been this last season. So I do not see him trying to go, or the team even sending him or thinking about sending him to the AHL. He definitely has a secure spot. And I also see him just taking off next season because of the offseason success that has been occurring for him. He went out to the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation, the Worlds, and he helped out the USA team through a lot of the success was because of Cutter Gauthier, whether it be his goal scoring prowess, his assists, or just good playmaking. He did a really, really good job. I'll get the numbers to you in the next segment when I talk a little bit more as the team as a whole. But he went out there, lit it up, had just a huge blowout season for the IHF and helped Team USA get that gold medal. And one thing I noticed too is his IQ with playing in that international tournament. You could just see like overall his IQ is getting way better. His hockey IQ, his hockey sense, and being able to not only read the plays a lot better, but be reactionary and be able to adapt to a new system. He fit right in the USA play style. And one thing that a lot of his goals were scored off of was his ability to get into the front of the net in that slot area, whether on a breakaway or working around the puck as a team. That spot being in that high slot area has really paid off for him, and that the hockey IQ for Cutter Gauthier going up like that from international play. Then he's going to come back, having that confidence, being part of the gold winning USA team, and then going into preseason and training. Now you got a new coach, and he had success under Greg Cronin. So, like, that just shows with how lackluster the coaching was last year and the kind of misuse of pieces. He definitely is going to have a good season this year, and his connection with Leo Carlsson that he started to get at the end of last season, and then playing well at Team USA. Then you come in, he's going to be playing with Carlsson for, I'd say, the entire season, and whoever gets lined up with those two is going to have a ton of points just by being there, just off of those two being like absolutely being machines out there. So to say that he's going to hit the next step is an understatement with the way things are going to go for him next season. There's just too much confidence and too much like experience that he had from last season that's going to pay off for the team as a whole and for himself. It's just weird to me to even think of him sniffing the AHL or after playing 82 games. I don't think he's going to blow back at all. And taking that success from the gold medal and working with Leo again, getting that confidence, getting adjusted. And that's why I bring up him being able to adapt to the systems at USA is now you're going to get this new coach. He just seems like he's an absolute coachable player, and it does not take him long to get acquainted or used to a new system. So he's going to have that mental step right there, just being able to jump into the new coaching system. And then also he's going to be able to unleash more of his talent. Like I see his speed definitely being the biggest game changer for him next season. His skating ability during the international play on that big ice was like completely outrageous. He was skating so well, had a ton of speed and stick handling. Everything was working out for him out there. Take that back into the smaller ice. He's been playing a lot better at the end of the season. Take that, all package it up, take it into that preseason, and you're going to see a player that's going to be dominant on the power play. He's going to be absolute crazy on the rush with Leo, and he's going to be playing in that physical front of the net area that he showed a lot of magnetism to during the USA team play. So I see a really good time coming out of Cutter Gauthier and not really having much of a slump at all next year. I think it's only going to go up. He's going to be easily cracking 20 goals next year. That's not going to be a problem for him. And being utilized in the right way, the ceiling is pretty much endless for this guy. It's going to be good. So look forward to him being dominant out there and having a great time. Do not at all expect him to be in a San Diego Gulls sweater next year. And that's just not going to be happening. So Cutter Gauthier having a great year. Not only is he going to be having a great year, but I see the Ducks as a whole stepping up and taking a huge jump together. And so we'll get into that coming up next. All right, our last question of the mailbag episode for this segment of the week. We've got Christian, who asks, what kind of progress should fans realistically expect this year? Are baby steps okay, or should we expect a playoff push? And I think it's very, very reasonable to expect a playoff run next year, but it's not going to be a long run. It's going to be a first round down and out. They're going to crack in, but I don't see it being a successful playoff year, kind of like New Jersey and the Ottawa Senators had this year, where that experience of being in the playoffs and actually witnessing what it's like, that is something that cannot be taught. It has to be experienced. And I see them having that playoff run because there is going to be a lot of creativity that's going to be allowed. There's going to be a lot more defensive type plays. It's the structure is going to be a lot better under Coach Q. And now, not only did you have the the bump up of last year and guys getting to really feel the pressure moments and starting to understand that type of scenario and what it's like to actually hunt for the playoffs, they're going to be hungry this next year. There's going to be a lot of new understanding, and a big help to the team is the guys that went out to the IHF. I already just talked about Cutter Gauthier in the last segment, but every single player that went out to represent their country that is on the Anaheim Ducks roster were fantastic. They did really, really well. We had Cutter Gauthier and Jackson LaCombe helping USA Hockey bring back the gold for the first time since 1933. So let's go. I got my USA shirt on, and Memorial Day was this weekend. Just good stuff going on there for USA Hockey. But Gauthier and LaCombe were absolutely part of that team. Like, they weren't just there and they didn't just, play a few minutes. They were actual instruments in winning that gold medal for Team USA. We had Gauthier, he had 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points, and he was +9. So he was out there just dominating the play, not letting anything in when he was out there, and adding a lot of offense to the Team USA. And then we got LaCombe. He had 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points, and was +11. And in the Sweden game, which was the semifinals, he had so many great defensive moments where he picked the puck up or took a shot block, like just playing outstanding defense, just like he was in Anaheim, and then transitioning into the scoring for the team. There was a couple times he didn't get the actual assist, but he was the last player. He stripped up the puck from the Swedish player, and then that bounced around and got passed up to the guy who hit the empty net. So there was a lot of great moments out of Jackson LaCombe. So he's got the confidence. He had the courage and the experience of that. And so now he's going to be hungry as well. And then just on the other side of the ice, unfortunately, they did get a medal at their home country, and that is Team Sweden. And Leo Carlsson, he was also a great asset to Team Sweden out there. He had 4 goals, 6 assists for 10 points, and was +3. Always smiling, always just looking like he was having the time of his life. So you see he's doing well. He's feeling good. He's feeling it out there, and he's going to be coming back with that energy. Him and Cutter Gauthier lining up, getting together. He's going to be buzzing. Gauthier's going to be buzzing. It's going to be a lot of fun out there next year. And then we also had Isaac Lundestrom, who had 1 goal and 3 assists for 4 points and was +3. Definitely a player who could use a big confidence boost and kind of just get back to their roots and really remember the type of hockey player that they are. And I feel like Isaac Lundestrom had that in this tournament. He was definitely noticeable, and he was a standout. And I think the season he had this year in Anaheim was kind of upsetting to himself. So he was not really thrilled with how he did the season, and he came out hungry in international play and did well. And then we got Stain Solberg, the new guy, not a NHL player yet. He hasn't touched NHL ice, but he is absolutely an NHL player candidate. I see him cracking the roster next year, and he played outstanding. He had the first hat trick of the entire tournament, and it was against USA Hockey, who ended up winning the gold against a bunch of his other Ducks players that he'll be battling against in the preseason. He looks solid. He is big. He's no bars to the he holds nothing back. He's a big physical kid, and I really liked watching him play. It's a little difficult watching those international games with that NHL channel, but the clips that I did see and the games I was able to watch, he looked phenomenal out there. He had 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 points, and he was +1. So not a bad showing for the kid at all. And he's looking hungry for it. I think he's going to come in. He did really well as soon as he stepped into San Diego, and playing out there for a team that's normally not, at the top of competition. They ended up going and getting 4th place. So lots of good looks out there. Actually, that was Denmark, not Norway. So my mistake on that one, but they did well. They played well, and he got a lot of good experience. So looking forward to those guys bringing all that energy and all that confidence from the tournament, plus everyone else that's back home. I've seen a lot of support around the team, guys sharing stuff about Anaheim and supporting the boys out in the tournament, posting stuff to their social medias. So there's definitely a buzz among the players it shows they're hungry. It shows they're coming together. There's a lot of camaraderie coming around, and that when you start to see those signs, that just shows the team is about to launch into a new orbit, and that's going to be coming up next year. And with Coach Q now letting these guys play the way that he's going to let them play, I think is going to unleash a lot of these offensive potentials that we've been just kind of hoping and waiting to spark off. And then the defense, everything's just meshing together at the right point. And you've got a coach that knows how to get success out of younger rosters, and he has a lot of playoff experience, and he's got teams deep into the playoffs. So talk about someone that's going to know how to get these guys into the playoffs. This is the man. I don't see them having a long run right now, though, because there's just that experience factor that it's unexplainable. Rarely do teams come in and just have an outstanding year and end up winning the cup these days. Like, a lot of these teams, they grind it out. They play. It's like they get deeper and deeper every season, unless they're the Maple Leafs. And then you get you get into the playoffs, and it just keeps getting deeper. So that is why I don't think they're going to get past that first round. Whoever they line up against, experience is just that it always wins. It always wins, and it's everything in the playoffs. I don't think that you can understand the different physicality levels, the different hunger levels. Like, just watching it, guys eating pucks all the time in these playoffs, taking hits, giving hits. There's just so much different in playoff hockey that I can only imagine that players, when they think they know, and then all of a sudden it's happening, and you're like, what in tarnation is going on right now? That's what the Ducks need, and it's okay. I would love to give them that experience and get them into that first round, and then get them going the next couple seasons. And it's all going to come from how Pat Verbeek builds this team. And Mitch Marner, is he coming? Are we waiting for someone next year? Are we getting a couple players this year? What does Pat Verbeek do? I think either way, his options will help the team no matter what he does choose. And Coach Q is going to help him get to that hump, and he's going to get him past that point of just barely being there. They're going to claw their way in. They're going to have a battle. They definitely got their work cut out for them, but it's going to happen. They're going to have success, and they're going to make it into the playoffs. They just won't do well. So that has been the mailbag. I hope you enjoyed it. I love getting your guys' questions. There were a ton more questions that I could have got, but I like to sit here and really put some time into answering the questions and just, keeping the mind going. So thank you for all of you who have submit questions, even on the YouTube and through social medias. We've got all the social media starting to run now. So make sure you go like and subscribe on all the platforms out there, and like and subscribe to this podcast on YouTube, the channel. Help us out. Got to spread the news that Locked On Ducks is here. And then make sure you go to kjertalksports.com/connect to submit your questions for next week. That's cartalksports.com/connect. There's a little form for you. You can send in any and all ideas. I love sharing with you guys. So thank you so much, everydayers. You are the best. I cannot thank any of you enough for what you guys do listening in. So thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night, until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's where you can find this podcast as well. So thank you. I'm Kyle Kjer. Be good out there.